Welcome, welcome, Charlie Sykes.
It is good to be back.
Donald Trump finds himself in a never-ending war in the Middle East.
Yeah, kind of ironic that Donald Trump doesn't turn out to be the great war planner that he thought. He thought this was going to be over in a day. And I think
Yeah.
the extraordinary thing is when you run down all the times that he and Pete Hegseth have said the war is over, the enemy is obliterated, they have nothing left, we can leave, and yet here we are in a widening, escalating war that he can't figure out. And by the way, so if you're the Iranians, you have to be thinking, should we cut a peace deal with Donald Trump? Why? Why would they do that at this point?
I was watching this video of Marco Rubio saying, wow, the Iranians keep asking us for a deal. Their different foreign ministers keep saying that they want a deal. That's what he was saying to reporters. And he said, I can't tell you. It seems like there's so much bluffing. And then also sort of the offers of big payoffs. I mean, when Trump was like hot to make peace 2 weeks ago, when he thought that this would affect the midterms, which it clearly will, he made all these offers to the Iranians and
Yeah.
they turn him down, right?
Okay, this is actually an interesting point because in Donald Trump's world, he just assumes that everyone has a price, right?
Right.
That everybody is transactional, and he appears to be genuinely shocked to find out that the mullahs may have a different set of incentives, and also he seems genuinely shocked that having on day one assassinated the supreme leader of Iran, his wife, the
daughter.
family of all of them, their dogs. Who knows?
Right.
He assassinated all
Yeah.
of them. He's genuinely surprised. Well, I'm going to give them a lot of money, right?
Right.
Shouldn't they be our friends? So the memorandum of understanding that Donald Trump was so excited about. Remember, he actually signed it at Versailles in front of all the allies
Yes.
or former allies.
Versailles,
Turns out to
known
be
for a place where great signings
great
take place.
treaties.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out to be the memorandum of misunderstanding. But I
Yeah.
have to say, there's also a pattern out there, and the Saudi Arabians just discovered this, that if you make a deal and a treaty with Donald Trump, the art of his deal is only what he thinks it is on any given day. So that you can sit down, negotiate a deal, sign and seal the deal. Donald Trump wakes up, sees somebody on Twitter, and changes the deal. Canada has discovered that. Europe
Right.
has discovered
Europe.
that. Ukraine has discovered that. And so the Iranians are going, can we even trust this guy to stick to any deal that we give him, especially since he killed our supreme leader?
Yes. And I think that's a really important point. And remember, so the Saudis had thought they were going to get nukes, which is a bit ironic because we're bombing the Iranians because they may or may not, they probably don't have nukes, but to prevent them from getting nukes. But we're going to give nukes to MBS, who has, jailed and or murdered numerous people, including an American journalist,
Khashoggi.
right? Khashoggi.
Yeah, that's why he's known as Prince Bonesaw. I mean, what could go wrong?
Right. Give
Prince
that guy some
Bonesaw.
nukes. But it turns out that even that guy does not get a good negotiation from Trump.
I find this I mean, I really do think this is fascinating. The fact that, I mean, first of all, it was breathtaking that he cuts this deal with Saudi Arabia while we're at war, theoretically about nuclear proliferation, because what could possibly go wrong if Saudi Arabia, the home of the 9/11 hijackers, would ever get a nuclear weapon? So
didn't they fund the 9/11 hijackers?
Well, Americans are able to sue them now. Congress passed a bill back in 2016 allowing the families to sue Saudi Arabia for their role in that. But anyway, so it was stunning that he comes up with this deal, clearly blindsides Israel and everyone else. For more than a decade, Saudi Arabia has wanted to have this civilian nuclear capability. Okay. For more than a decade, U.S. policy in both Biden and the Trump administration was, okay, if this is your number one ask, our number one ask is going to be that you recognize Israel as part of some sort of, a peace deal. Donald Trump just completely ignores that, reverses a decade of U.S. policy, signs this deal that nobody can really fully understand, and then literally the next day says, oh, wait, the dog ate my homework. I forgot to include that in the deal. There's no deal unless they do it. Which
is normalizing relations with Israel. And then they said, Right. They said we'll only normalize relationships with Israel if Israel creates Palestine. And Israel was like,
Right.
we're trying to destroy Palestine. So sorry.
Well, that's pretty much
Basically.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the regime is relatively entrenched. I'm trying to think where I saw this, that apparently at one point MBS told the late Lindsey Graham, if I were ever to normalize relations with Israel without having a Palestinian state, the people would drag me
Right.
through the streets.
Right.
So that was never going to happen. So do we have a deal or not? I'm bringing this up and by the way, the Canadians are also discovering that any trade deal you make with Donald Trump is good only until he changes his mind.
Yeah.
So this creates the problem. How do you get out of this war with Iran when the whole world, and especially the Iranians, will not trust anything that you agree to? So,
Mhm.
we not only have this expanding quagmire, but it's become Donald Trump's options for getting out are shrinking almost by the day. And by the way, I don't know about you, I just assumed that he would declare victory and leave and
Yeah.
go and invade Cuba, right? I mean, wasn't that
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
Donald Trump, we won. There's nothing there,
Yeah.
nothing to see. This is the bigliest victory in history. They have no uranium dust. Let's go invade Cuba. And yet here we are, death toll rising, impact on the world economy not yet
Hmm.
fully felt, but looming. Bond market is flashing warnings.
Hmm.
Gas prices are surging. They're going to get worse. Donald Trump himself said he would be Herbert Hoover, and yet
Yeah, that wasn't great.
we're doing this. We are doing this.
What was that thing where Trump said he was going to be Herbert Hoover? Someone must have explained to him about the gas prices, right?
Well, I was shocked. I was shocked that he knew about her Hoover. No, that was in the context of the war, saying that
Yeah.
that we needed to have this memorandum of understanding, this non-peace deal, because otherwise, his phrase, the war might lead to global economic
Right.
catastrophe, and that he did not want to be remembered as the president that led us into a depression. And then suddenly it's like, okay, well, never mind.
You know what's interesting about this is that these tariffs that they put on, these 50% tariffs, they're from the Smoot-Hawley
I
age,
know.
and they're from a 1930s Smoot-Hawley section of the tariff code that
Chef's
that
kiss.
right that was put on to help America get out of the depression, but is actually blamed for making the depression worse.
I'm glad you pointed this out. Now, I assume that the savvy listeners to this podcast will know that Smoot-Hawley is notorious as one of the worst economic decisions ever made by the United States government, widely blamed for deepening and extending the Great Depression. And
Mhm.
for some reason, this never got through Donald Trump's head
Mhm.
that, okay, we tried this before, massive tariffs that backfired, but now he's actually going back to the word. I mean, here's a guy that, ran for president by going back into the 30s, with America First. And now he's going back into the late 20s and early 30s for protectionist Smoot-Hawley. And again, none of it seems to be working out particularly well for him.
But it's also like these tariffs were struck down by the Supreme Court. The administration had to pay back a lot of them. So, what is the thinking here? Like, he's going to do it again, and the Supreme Court's going to, I mean, maybe there's more of a legal leg to stand on.
Well, okay, so I'm not an expert. I will defer to what Justin Wolfer said about this. It's like new
Right.
packaging, but it's the same
Right.
rotten deal. That this may actually be a legal workaround using a
Right.
different law to impose it, but the economic effects will still be the same. And so, I mean, their thinking is we're not actually defying the Supreme Court. We found another legal precedent, which is why they're willing to go back into the 1930s to do all of this.
Right.
But the economic impact is going to be the same, as
Right.
well as, again, the Canadians are sitting there going, wait, we thought that we had a trade deal with the United States. And up until now, many of the things covered by that trade deal were exempted from his tariffs. And now Trump is saying no. So we go back to this major theme. Who can make a deal with Donald Trump anymore? I mean, at what point do people realize you cannot, the art of Trump's deal is whatever works for Donald Trump moment to moment. So this
Yeah.
has long-term implications.
And the other thing is that this was all supposed to onshore manufacturing, which we're 2 years into this thing and no manufacturing has been onshored.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, this is an interesting chart because in
Yes.
theory, Liberation Day should have unleashed this great expansion of US manufacturing, right? That has not happened at all.
No, I mean, it's interesting to me that because there's no one around him to talk sense into him, right? With the exception of maybe Susie Wiles, but it's not even clear. There's never a moment where Trump goes like, "Oh, I guess I have to change course."
Well, look, you've been watching Trump for years, as long as I have. There was, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself here, but he used to have kind of this reptilian instinct for public
Mm,
opinion and what played. He seems very tone deaf to me right now, and I think
mm-hmm,
this is kind of we talk about the authoritarian playbook. Well, the authoritarian Achilles heel, and there's your Odyssey, your Odyssey
mm-hmm.
reference, is the fact that you get rid of all of the adults in the room, all of the experts, all the people with experience, all the people who can tell you no, and you surround yourself with the loyalists and the chodes and the yes men. And time again, they will never tell him this is a bad idea. This will play out badly. And so all of his worst instincts have been liberated. There's a
Yeah.
Pandora's box of all of Donald Trump's darker id.
It strikes me that, like, basically this whole second term has been like self-perpetuating crisis to like he does something stupid, he gets in trouble, he tries to invade Greenland, Europe gets mad at him, he
Yeah.
tries to, just at every point he invades Iran, he can't get out, he tries to pay them off, they say no. Like, what do you think, like, what happens? You think this just keeps going until he runs into something that is presidency ending or that Democrats stop him? Or, I mean,
Who knows? Who knows? But I mean, I think he's going to continue it until you mentioned it, until he comes up against something that where it doesn't work. And I think that's kind of, it has happened in a couple of areas.
yeah,
He thought that Iran would roll over like it would be like
yeah,
Venezuela or like other countries. Well, they're not. Europe is not. He tried to intimidate and bully the Pope. The Pope is not backing off. And I
yeah, the
do
Pope.
wonder if and again, he's done a lot of damage. He will continue to do a lot of damage. I think he becomes more dangerous over time. But,
Mm,
the fact is that a Donald Trump with a 34% approval rating doesn't scare people the way he was scaring people in civil society a year
mm,
ago. So
that's
I
right.
do feel a shift, and I'm not trying to be irrationally exuberant, but something is different.
But
There's more willingness to push back.
okay, agreed. And also, I want to believe that desperately. But Donald Trump has this shitty approval rating. He's like Carter without the loveliness, right? And he's got inflation. I mean, he's got a lot of the Carter like
Yeah.
symptoms. And then, but except they're all self-perpetuated versus Carter, who sort of wandered into them more or less. But I just wonder, there's some self, but not quite the same way. All of these Republican senators have legitimately lost their jobs because of him.
Yeah.
Cornyn, Cassidy, and Tillis. So why are we not seeing more like those Todd Blanche hearings were a real opportunity there for, especially Cornyn is on the committee and so is Tillis. Tillis made Blanche meet with the victims, but like I have been surprised that there hasn't been more concerted pushback to any of this.
I want to say this is the ultimate test, but there have been so many ultimate tests and they
Right.
failed them all up until now.
Right.
But this is black and white. I don't think there's anyone who has been as, clearly unsuited for this job as Todd Blanche. The analogy that I use, and I've floated it out a couple of times, is that voting for Todd Blanche now, with everything that he's done, with the Epstein cover-up, with the slush funds, with the weaponization of the Department of Justice, with the loss of 16,000 lawyers,
Right.
this would be like the United States Senate voting to confirm Richard Nixon's Attorney General John Mitchell after Watergate, after all of the
Right.
scandals, and going,
Right.
yeah, we're okay. Because if you vote for Todd Blanche, you are embracing all of it, all of what's happened, what they're doing now, and also what Donald Trump might use the Department of Justice to do in the future to overturn future elections, the midterms and the 2028 election. So
Right.
I don't understand what Tillis is waiting for, what Cornyn is waiting for. they have nothing to lose politically. And my understanding is that Blanche would actually probably stay on as acting attorney general,
Right.
but at least it would show that that some Republicans still have a soul, which
Yeah.
is questionable.
Did you see that Elon Musk interview? And can we talk about it for 2 seconds?
Yes, I've seen excerpts of it, and I was reminded again of what a difference a really, really good interviewer will make. Somebody who is willing to push back on the blather and the bullshit. These British interviewers they bring something completely different.
Yeah.
And I have to say that to think that Elon Musk is one of the richest, most powerful men in the world who will, shape the fate of millions is really, I don't want to say terrifying because my actual reaction is nauseating
Yeah.
because he was really exposed. What did you think?
I mean, so I have so many interesting feelings about I read The Economist. I'm like a regular Economist super fan. If
Hmm.
that's Even though I'm much more lefty than The Economist, and a
Yeah,
lot of times I'll read the some of the editorials and I will like be like, like there'll be all these editorials that'll be like, America has got, not having regulation correct, unlike Europe with its slow, I dream about
yeah,
European level regulation. So I'm
sure,
always
we
like,
don't.
yeah, they're like Europe with its slow regulation and its, economy killing, whatever.
Yeah.
They're mad that they have
Hmm.
us, all of these pensions and all the things that are like my fantasy for America. So I'm always very conflicted, but I like the editor-in-chief Zandy very much, and I think she's very, very smart. And what I was struck by was, first of all, it's clear that Elon Musk does not read The Economist,
No.
because if he did, he would understand that this is a person who actually very much wants to like him. There were two things I found really interesting. I listened to the whole, it's two and a half. I mean, it's long, but in it, two things were really interesting. One was she says, you cut USAID and all these people died. And he
Mhm.
said, zero people died, zero people
Yeah.
died. Okay, zero people did not die, obviously. But then he
Right.
said, there are all these NGOs, and McKinsey Bezos or the Gates Foundation could have come in if they had cared and fixed it, which I thought was an insane thing for the richest man in the world to say. And then the other thing was at the end, she says, all these people hate you. Why do you think
Mm.
that is? Which is a ballsy kind of
Mm.
interview
Yes.
question. And he says, well, many more people hate you than hate me. And then right.
No.
Well, so she said many more people don't know who the fuck I
Yeah.
am
Yeah, well,
than,
exactly.
right.
Yeah. Right.
But what do you think? I mean, it struck me that like this is a person who controls so much of American life, and he's like kind of a mess.
He's very much a mess, and this has been known as well. Even the Trump White House seemed to know that they had a ketamine addict on their hands. I thought the exchange where she is pressing him like you have been saying that you think the United Kingdom is on the brink of a race war
Right.
or a civil war.
Right.
And he says yes. And she says something like, "Oh, I'm paraphrasing this. When's the last time you were actually in, the UK?"
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
like a few years ago. And she says, "Well, I live there, and
Yeah.
none of what you're saying is true. London is a much safer city." And
Yeah.
it was the challenging him on it that, and part of the frustration with Elon Musk is that if he was anyone else other than Elon Musk, no one would take him seriously because of
Right.
the incredible insanity, but also the virulent bigotry and the racism,
Yeah.
which is not mediated in any way whatsoever. I mean, his obsession with now what he's claiming he's going to remake the Odyssey in a year.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because the world needs a Helen who's not
Black?
black.
Is
It's
she
just
black? I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and this is the mind of Elon Musk, and I guess I actually do think that we are going to reach a tipping point, and I don't know,
Yeah.
at some point where if when people realize the concentration of power in the hands of people like Elon Musk and
Yeah.
Peter Thiel and Jeff Bezos and people who the more you listen to them and pay attention to them, you go, oh my God. And yet we're going to be living in their world. So I think
Yeah.
there's going to be a major pushback against. There's already a major pushback against. May be seem like a digression, but AI data centers and the new
Right.
technology. I think
Right.
that's all going to be wrapped up in the bubble of what are they doing to the world? What's going to happen? And if these guys are the faces of this dangerous, world-destroying technology, then we shouldn't be surprised if there's kind of a revolt against that.
Well, because it was The Economist, she was like, we could have socialism. And I was
Yes.
like, well, don't threaten me with a good time.
Mhm.
But they were like, we could have regulation and socialism and kill business. And he was like, oh, that would never happen. But yeah,
Well,
Toby
these
Sykes.
things have backlashes.
That's right. Thank you.
Molly
Thank
Jong-Fast.
you.